Dear friends, welcome to our channel. We are very excited to share with you different stories about love and betrayal from around the world. Now, let's begin today's journey of stories. The nights in Buenos Aires, Argentina, are always full of passion, especially in this luxurious beachside villa. Expensive champagne sparkles and flutes, and soft tango music echoes through the spacious hall. Jack stands in the corner, his eyes fixed on the elegantly dancing couple in the center of the dance floor. That woman, the one in the fire-red fitted gown, is his wife Emma. And that man, wearing a tailored black suit, is Nathan, a renowned photographer recently signed by Emma's company. Jack feels his heart being squeezed by an invisible hand. Emma's face is radiant with a smile he hasn't seen in a long time. She moves fluidly and intimately in her dance partner's arms. Their bodies are too close, their eye contact too intense, their laughter too sweet. A painful thought forms in Jack's mind. This is not just a tango. Jack downs his whiskey, ice cubes clinking against the glass. This party was supposed to be a joyous occasion celebrating Emma's successful contract signing for her company. As a successful PR manager, Emma organized this grand event. Jack should have felt proud of his wife, but now he only feels nauseated. When the music ends, Jack walks directly to the center of the dance floor. In front of everyone, he grabs Emma's wrist. "We need to talk now." Jack's voice is low and firm. Emma's smile instantly freezes, but quickly returns to that arrogant expression. "Darling, can't you see I'm busy?" Jack pulls Emma to the terrace, away from the curious eyes of the guests. The cold night wind disperses the heat on Jack's face, but cannot cool the anger in his heart. "What's going on between you two?" Jack asks directly. Emma's expression falls somewhere between surprise and anger. "What do you mean? I was just dancing." "Stop pretending, Emma. You two looked like you were flirting, while I was standing there like I was invisible." Emma's eyes narrow dangerously, her voice suddenly turning ice cold. "I'll dance with whoever I want. You have two choices: sit and watch, or get out." Jack feels like he's been slapped in the face. 15 years of marriage, so casually trampled under her feet. He takes a deep breath, turns and walks away. "Wait, Jack." Emma's voice suddenly changes tone, as if realizing her mistake. But Jack doesn't look back. He walks straight to the door and disappears into the night. Jack and Emma met 15 years ago at an architectural design exhibition. At that time, Jack was an emerging architect who had just established his own studio in Buenos Aires. Emma was a PR director for a luxury goods company, responsible for promoting the exhibition. Their first meeting was full of sparks. Emma was attracted to Jack's avant-garde and soulful designs, while Jack was captivated by Emma's passion and intelligence. After 3 months of passionate romance, they decided to get married. The wedding was held in the most beautiful church in Buenos Aires, with friends and family blessing the perfect couple. For the first few years after marriage, their life was like a fairy tale. Jack's architectural firm gradually expanded, taking on many important projects. Emma also excelled in the PR field, becoming an indispensable pillar of her company. However, time and reality always slowly erode the halo of love. Jack focused on architectural design. Although not a workaholic, he did invest a lot of time in his creations. He attended Emma's social activities, but often appeared quiet and reserved. Emma, on the other hand, became increasingly addicted to the glamour of the social circle, craving more excitement and attention. Their rift began 2 years ago. At that time, Jack took on an important 6-month project that required multiple trips to Uruguay to meet with clients. Emma was promoted to brand director due to her excellent work, responsible for collaborating with various creative talents. During this period, they had fewer and fewer opportunities to meet and less communication. It was at this time that Nathan appeared in Emma's life. Nathan was an emerging photographer who had caused a sensation in the fashion world with his unique perspective and bold expression. Emma's company decided to collaborate with Nathan on shooting a new season's advertising campaign, and Emma was assigned to be responsible for communication and coordination with Nathan. From the first meeting, Emma was attracted to Nathan's charm. Nathan was not only talented, but also witty and perceptive. He always knew when to compliment Emma's professional abilities and when to express appreciation for her appearance. Unlike Jack's steady restraint, Nathan was like a bright flame, igniting the desire deep in Emma's heart. At first, Emma told herself this was just a normal working relationship. But as their collaboration deepened, their contact became more frequent. Conversations gradually shifted from work to personal life. Nathan would send messages late at night asking for Emma's thoughts. He would coincidentally appear in coffee shops Emma frequented and would give Emma small gifts, claiming it was to thank her for her professional guidance. The first boundary crossing occurred after a late-night work meeting. When the other colleagues had left, Nathan invited Emma to his studio to see some newly taken photos. Under dim lights and the influence of wine, Emma indulged herself. She told herself it was just a momentary impulse and wouldn't happen again. But once Pandora's box was opened, it could no longer be closed. In the following months, Emma and Nathan developed a secret relationship. They would meet secretly during work hours and communicate on social media using codes only they understood. Emma began setting additional passwords on her phone and inventing more work excuses. And Jack, immersed in his architectural world, did not notice his wife's unusual behavior. Or rather, he chose not to notice. In fact, Jack had already sensed changes in the marriage. Emma came home later and later. They communicated less and less, with almost zero physical contact. But Jack attributed all this to work pressure and the natural cooling of marriage. He thought time would solve all problems, not knowing that time would only make the problems more complex. When Jack finally completed that important project, he decided to rebuild his marriage. He began coming home early, trying to communicate more with Emma, and even planned a romantic weekend getaway. But Emma always seemed to have various reasons to decline, and her eyes began to avoid his. Jack began to suspect, but was unwilling to believe his suspicions. Until that fateful night, that party that changed everything. After leaving the party, Jack didn't go directly home. He drove to the coastal boulevard of Buenos Aires, letting the sea breeze mess up his hair. 15 years of marriage. Has it come to this? The woman who once shared dreams of the future with him, now flirting with another man right in front of him? Jack's phone kept ringing with calls and messages from Emma. But he didn't answer any, didn't reply to any. He needed time to think, space to breathe. At 3 in the morning, Jack finally returned home. The house was dark, but he could feel Emma sitting on the couch in the living room. Jack, I'm sorry. Emma's voice rang out in the darkness, sounding tired and hoarse. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. Jack turned on the light. Emma's makeup was smeared, her eyes red and swollen. Obviously, she had been crying. But Jack's heart had already gone cold. Is it just about how you spoke? Jack asked calmly. Or is there more between you and Nathan that I don't know about? Emma's eyes flickered, her lips trembling slightly. This detail didn't escape Jack's notice. I don't know what you're talking about. Emma avoided Jack's gaze. Nathan is just my colleague. We're collaborating on a project. Enough, Emma. Jack's voice was strangely calm. I'm not stupid. Your behavior with him was clear to everyone at the party. I just want to know how long this has been going on. Emma was silent for a long time, then sighed. Jack, problems in a marriage are never one-sided. We haven't really communicated for a long time. You're always immersed in your architectural world. So this is my fault. Because I work hard, you have the right to cheat. Jack's voice raised a few notches. I haven't neglected our marriage, Emma. For months I've been trying to repair our relationship, but you always had excuses to push me away. Now I understand why. Emma stood up, anger flashing in her eyes. You don't understand. You don't understand what I need, what I want. The attention and understanding Nathan gives me. You've never given me. This sentence was like the last straw, completely crushing Jack's patience. Then you can go find Nathan for your so-called understanding now. I'll move out tomorrow and contact a lawyer. This marriage is over. Emma's face instantly turned pale. Jack, you can't do this. We can talk. We can go to a counselor. It's too late, Emma. Jack interrupted her. You made it very clear at the party. Either accept it or get out. I choose the latter. After speaking, Jack walked into the guest room and locked the door. He heard Emma crying outside the door, begging him to open it, but he ignored her. 15 years of feelings, crumbling in one night. Early the next morning, Jack contacted his lawyer Marcus and began the divorce process. Marcus was Jack's friend of many years and one of Argentina's most famous divorce lawyers. On Marcus's advice, Jack began collecting evidence of Emma's affair. Meanwhile, Emma also realized the seriousness of the situation. She tried to contact Jack multiple times, but Jack did not respond. She even went to Jack's studio, but was told Jack wasn't there. In desperation, Emma turned to Nathan. Jack wants to divorce me. Emma broke down crying in Nathan's apartment. He saw how we were at the party. He suspects we're having an affair. Nathan comforted Emma. Calm down. He has no evidence. As long as we both deny it, what can he do to us? But Emma knew Jack's character. Once he made up his mind, it was difficult to change. Moreover, Argentine divorce law doesn't require proof of spousal infidelity. As long as both parties agree or one party firmly requests it, the court will eventually approve the divorce. In the following weeks, Jack investigated Emma and Nathan's relationship through various channels. He obtained Emma's call records through friends, discovering evidence of numerous late-night calls with Nathan. He hired someone to obtain hotel check-in records, finding that Emma and Nathan had checked into the same hotel multiple times simultaneously. He even learned from Emma's company colleagues that Emma and Nathan's relationship was no secret within the company. Each piece of evidence was like a knife stabbing Jack's heart. But he forced himself to remain calm, preparing for the upcoming legal battle. Emma wasn't idle either. She consulted her own lawyer and learned that under Argentine law, if she couldn't prove Jack was at fault, she might be at a disadvantage in property division. So Emma began looking for Jack's flaws, hoping to gain an advantage in the divorce proceedings. However, Jack's life was very regular. Apart from work, it was all about family, with no weaknesses to be exploited. In fact, it was Jack's steadiness and sense of responsibility that initially attracted Emma. As time passed, Emma began to realize the seriousness of the situation. She was losing not just a husband, but a stable life. Nathan's attitude toward marriage became ambiguously unclear, making her increasingly uneasy. If I divorce Jack, what will develop between us? Emma asked Nathan directly one night. Nathan looked somewhat embarrassed. Emma, what we have is special, but I don't want to talk about the future right now. Let's see how things develop. This vague answer made Emma's heart sink. She began to doubt whether Nathan's feelings for her were sincere or just a momentary impulse and exploitation. 1 month later, the divorce proceedings officially began. In court, Jack presented all the evidence he had collected, proving Emma's improper relationship with Nathan. Emma's lawyer tried to defend her, claiming Jack neglected the marriage, causing Emma to seek emotional comfort elsewhere. But this defense seemed weak in the judge's eyes. Outside the courthouse, the media swarmed. Jack was a well-known architect, Emma was a famous PR manager, and Nathan was an emerging photographer. The emotional entanglement of the three naturally became the focus of media and public attention. Various speculations and comments filled social media. Some sympathized with Jack, some accused Emma, and others mocked Nathan. Emma's company was extremely dissatisfied with this negative news. They worried it would affect the company's image, especially the luxury brands directly working with Emma. After an internal meeting, the company decided to suspend Emma's position until the situation calmed down. For Emma, who had worked in PR for years, this was undoubtedly a huge blow. She not only lost her husband, but now her job was also in jeopardy. And Nathan, who originally thought he could gain more exposure and resources through his relationship with Emma, now found himself in an awkward position. Some brands that had promised to work with him began canceling contracts, concerned that collaborating with him would bring negative impact. After being hit in various aspects of life, Emma tried to contact Jack again, hoping to salvage the situation. On a rainy night, Emma came alone to the apartment building where Jack was temporarily staying. She had no umbrella, letting the rain soak her completely. When Jack returned from work, he saw a dejected Emma. "Jack, please give me a chance." Emma's voice choked, rain and tears mixing, flowing down her cheeks. "I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have betrayed you. But 15 years of feelings, is this how it ends?" Jack looked at the once radiant woman before him, feeling mixed emotions. But when he recalled the scene at the party that night, recalled Emma's intimate gestures with Nathan, recalled those hurtful words Emma had said, his heart hardened again. "Emma, once a mistake is made, it cannot be undone. You chose betrayal. You must bear the consequences." Jack's tone was cold and determined. "Our lawyers will handle the rest. Please don't come find me again." After speaking, Jack walked past Emma and entered the apartment building. He didn't look back, didn't see Emma's desperate figure kneeling in the rain. The divorce proceedings lasted 3 months. In the end, the court ruled in favor of Jack's claims. Due to her marital infidelity, Emma was at a disadvantage in property division. Jack received their jointly owned property and most investments, while Emma only got some jewelry and personal items. After the divorce, Jack chose to leave the bustle of Buenos Aires and went to Mendoza province to develop a new architectural project. There, he could temporarily escape the shadows of the past and focus on work and self-healing. Emma's life, on the other hand, was in chaos. The company finally decided to terminate her employment, citing that her personal behavior had damaged the company's image. Unemployed, Emma began seeking Nathan's support, but Nathan became increasingly cold. He had already found a new muse, a younger, more influential model. Emma, in his eyes, had lost her utility. When Emma finally realized that Nathan had never truly loved her, it was all too late. She had lost her husband, job, social status, and even her dignity was trampled. In desperation, Emma began facing the consequences of her choices. Life in Mendoza province was a relief for Jack. Away from the hustle of Buenos Aires, away from those familiar faces and places, Jack could breathe again here, rethink things. He rented a small house in a vineyard, waking up to the morning sun each day and falling asleep under the stars at night. In his spare time, he would stroll through the vineyard, taste the local Malbec wine, or ride alone through the valleys of the Andes Mountains. In this tranquil environment, Jack began to re-examine his marriage. He had loved Emma so much that he overlooked the selfishness and vanity in her character. Perhaps the breakdown of this marriage had early signs, only he had been unwilling to face them. Jack's architectural project was to design a new wine cellar and reception center for a famous winery. The project required him to deeply understand the history and culture of Mendoza. He needed to integrate modern design with traditional elements. Jack immersed himself in this project, working day and night, hoping to heal his inner wounds through creation. His efforts were not in vain. The project progressed smoothly, with clients praising his design. Jack's name began attracting attention in the local architectural circle. Even other vineyard owners proactively contacted him, hoping to collaborate with him. Jack's schedule became increasingly busy, but this busyness made him feel fulfilled rather than exhausted. With each completed design, each problem solved, he felt one step further from the shadows of the past. He began regaining confidence and passion, that zest for life once obscured by betrayal and separation. Sometimes, after finishing work late at night, Jack would stand on the small house's balcony, gazing at the stars, recalling the times he spent with Emma. Not all memories were painful. Some moments were indeed warm and beautiful. But whenever he thought of Emma's intimate gestures with Nathan at the party, thought of Emma's cold and heartless words, pain and anger would surge again. Jack knew that no matter how much Emma regretted it, no matter how much she begged for forgiveness, some damages once done could never be repaired. Trust once broken was like a shattered mirror. Even if forcibly pieced back together, it would forever bear cracks. Meanwhile, Emma's life in Buenos Aires was rapidly collapsing. After losing her job, Emma tried various methods to find work again, but her name had become taboo in the PR circle. No company was willing to hire a PR manager who was fired by her previous employer due to a personal scandal, especially when the scandal involved infidelity and workplace relationship chaos. Emma's savings quickly ran out. She had to move out of her original high-end apartment and rent a small single room on the edge of the city. Her closet no longer contained those designer clothes and luxury goods. Her table no longer had takeout from high-end restaurants. What pained Emma more was the change in her social circle. Those friends and colleagues who once treated her with respect now either avoided her or whispered behind her back. The social network she had once prided herself on disintegrated overnight. Nathan was the last straw. When Emma discovered Nathan's intimate photos with the young model spreading wildly on social media, she felt an unprecedented betrayal and humiliation. She sent countless messages to Nathan, made countless calls, but all met with silence. Finally, on a rainy night, Emma barged into Nathan's studio. She saw Nathan and the young model getting intimate on the couch, surrounded by wine glasses and shooting props. "You liar!" Emma screamed, rushing towards Nathan. "You said you loved me. You said we would be together." Nathan hurriedly got up, trying to appease the enraged Emma. "Emma, calm down. What we had was just a beautiful memory, but life must move forward." "Memory? Emma's voice trembled with anger. I lost everything for you. My marriage, my job, my dignity. And now you tell me this was just a memory? That was your own choice, Emma. Nathan's tone suddenly turned cold. I never asked you to leave Jack. You chose to betray him yourself. Don't push the responsibility onto me. These words hit like a heavy punch, shattering Emma's last fantasy. She finally saw Nathan's true face, a cold-blooded, selfish opportunist, a person who only cared about his own interests. Emma rushed out of the studio, walking aimlessly in the heavy rain. She thought of Jack, thought of their once happiness, thought of how she had destroyed it all with her own hands. Anger, humiliation, and emptiness intertwined, making her almost suffocate. But Emma was not one to give up easily. Even in her lowest moment, she maintained a certain tenacity and pride. She decided not to waste any more tears on someone like Nathan, but to reclaim her own life. Emma began sending resumes to various companies, but most met with silence. Eventually, she had to accept a job as a cafe waitress, barely making ends meet. Facing strangers pointing fingers and occasional cold mockery every day, Emma gritted her teeth and endured, telling herself this was only temporary. Meanwhile, Nathan's career also began to decline. His scandal with Emma made some important clients wary, concerned that collaborating with him would bring negative impact to their brands. Worse, as time went on, several other women who had intimate relationships with Nathan also began speaking out publicly, accusing him of abusing professional relationships for inappropriate behavior. Nathan's photography work had once been acclaimed for its unique perspective and profound emotional expression, but now people were more focused on his personal scandals than his artistic achievements. Some magazines and brands that once supported him began distancing themselves, canceling cooperation plans. With both career and reputation damaged, Nathan began seeking new opportunities. He heard about a photography project recruiting talent in Los Angeles, USA. So he packed his bags without hesitation and left Buenos Aires. However, the speed of information spread in the internet age far exceeded Nathan's imagination. When he arrived in Los Angeles, he found that the project manager already knew about his actions in Argentina. They clearly stated they did not welcome his participation. Some anonymous leaks even pointed out that Nathan had previously photographed and shared intimate photos of female models without their knowledge. This made his situation in the US even more difficult. In the following months, Nathan wandered through various cities, trying to rebuild his career, but met with obstacles everywhere. His name seemed to have been blacklisted in the fashion and photography industries. Eventually, Nathan had to accept some small commercial photography jobs. He took product photos for local small shops, far from his once glorious career. About a year later, Jack completed the Mendoza project and prepared to return to Buenos Aires. The project was a huge success. It not only brought more visitors and revenue to the winery, but also won Jack multiple architectural awards and industry recognition. Returning to Buenos Aires, Jack found the city both strange and familiar. Familiar were the streets and buildings, strange was his own feeling. Over the past year and more, he had experienced too much, changed too much. Jack's architectural firm continued to flourish under his careful management. He began accepting more socially meaningful projects. He designed affordable housing for disadvantaged communities and injected new vitality into public spaces. His designs no longer merely pursued aesthetics and functionality. They also incorporated more concern for humanity and community. One day, while working in a cafe, Jack accidentally saw Emma. She was wearing the cafe's uniform, serving coffee to customers. At that moment, Jack felt a complex mix of emotions: surprise, some pity, but more a calm detachment. He didn't go up to greet her, just quietly left the cafe. Emma also saw Jack, her hand trembling slightly, almost spilling the coffee cup. She wanted to go up and say something, but ultimately restrained herself. She knew Jack had completely moved on from her life, and she had no right to disturb him again. A few weeks later, Jack met an artist from Barcelona, Spain named Isabella at an Architects Association dinner. Isabella loved life, was passionate about art and architecture, and had many common topics with Jack. She was gentle yet independent, with her own career and pursuits. She could understand and respect Jack's work and life. As time passed, Jack and Isabella's relationship gradually deepened. Isabella's sincerity and warmth made Jack believe in the possibility of love again. But Jack had also become more cautious. He honestly told Isabella about his past, including his marriage to Emma and the betrayal. "I understand your caution, Jack," Isabella said to Jack. "I won't ask you to trust me immediately. I'm willing to prove myself with time and actions." This understanding and respect was exactly what Jack yearned for. In his interaction with Isabella, Jack slowly let down his psychological defenses and began accepting this new relationship. Meanwhile, Emma's life hadn't improved. The cafe job barely maintained basic living, but was far from supporting the lifestyle she was used to. She tried contacting some old friends and colleagues, hoping to get some help or job opportunities, but most people either politely declined or directly ignored her requests. In a chance opportunity, Emma heard that a small PR company was recruiting an assistant. Although the position was far below her previous level, Emma still went to apply with a try-it-and-see attitude. To her surprise, the company's boss Rachel actually recognized her. "You're Emma, right?" "Former brand director at Lux Brands," Rachel said directly. Emma nodded, somewhat embarrassedly acknowledging her identity. "I know about your past," Rachel said calmly, "but I believe everyone deserves a second chance. If you're willing to start from the bottom, don't mind low pay and heavy workload, I can give you a chance." This was the first real job opportunity Emma had received in months. Despite the harsh conditions, she accepted without hesitation. From that day on, Emma began a new work life. She had to work harder, more diligently than others to slowly win back the respect and trust of industry professionals. Meanwhile, Nathan's life in Los Angeles also fell into difficulty. His photography skills were undeniably excellent, but his reputation and past behavior made it difficult to obtain important job opportunities. After being rejected several times, Nathan began drinking heavily, immersed in self-pity and reminiscence of the past. One drunken night, Nathan sent Emma a long message, both accusing her of ruining his career and expressing some distorted longing. After reading the message, Emma just sneered and blocked Nathan. She was no longer that woman blinded by love, nor would she be fooled again by Nathan's sweet talk. Jack and Isabella's relationship was steadily deepening. After dating for a year, Jack invited Isabella to move to Buenos Aires to live with him. Isabella gladly accepted, but she also kept her studio in Barcelona, returning regularly for creation and exhibitions. This independent, yet mutually respectful way of getting along made their relationship more stable and healthy. Emma slowly rebuilt her position in the industry through hard work at Rachel's company. Although she might never return to her former heights, she was no longer just that Emma pursuing superficial glamour. After experiencing failure and betrayal, Emma became more practical and better understood the true value of interpersonal relationships. One day, while handling client files, Emma discovered a project collaborating with Jack's architectural firm. Out of professional ethics, Emma immediately reported this potential conflict of interest to Rachel. "Do you want to avoid this project?" Rachel asked. Emma thought for a moment, then shook her head. "No, I can remain professional. This project is important to the company. I don't want to affect work because of personal reasons." Rachel nodded appreciatively. "You've changed, Emma. The former you might have chosen to avoid or use this opportunity to do something. After experiencing so much, if I didn't change, that would be the real failure," Emma said with a bitter smile. During the project, Emma needed to communicate with Jack's team. She carefully maintained professional distance, completing all communications via email or assistance, never directly contacting Jack. This was not only respect for Jack, but also protection for her current life. After learning Emma worked at the other company, Jack also chose to keep his distance. He assigned his deputy to handle all contacts with Emma's company, avoiding any unnecessary intersection. Jack wasn't acting out of hatred, but understood that once some relationships end, they shouldn't be entangled again. Nathan's life continued to sink into a low point. After several failed attempts in Los Angeles, he returned to Argentina, only to find Buenos Aires had closed its doors to him. Former friends and supporters either publicly distanced themselves or privately avoided him. Eventually, Nathan had to move to a small town, opening a small photo studio there, taking ID photos and family photos for local residents. This disparity deeply affected Nathan. He began reflecting on his behavior and choices, but there was more resentment and unwillingness. He couldn't accept the reality of falling from a sought-after artist to a small-town photographer, often venting his dissatisfaction under the influence of alcohol. 2 years later, Jack decided to propose to Isabella. He chose an ordinary but meaningful occasion. The night Isabella completed an important artwork at the restaurant they both loved. There was no fanfare, no extravagance, only sincere feelings and commitment. Isabella, these 2 years with you have made me believe again in the power of love and trust. Jack took out a small ring box. I know we both have our own careers and pursuits, but I hope to spend the rest of my life with you, whether in Buenos Aires or Barcelona or anywhere else in the world. Will you marry me? Isabella's eyes glistened with tears, and she nodded without hesitation. The wedding was held in a small church in Barcelona, inviting only the closest friends and family. After the simple and warm ceremony, Jack and Isabella announced they would live between the two cities. They would maintain their respective careers without giving up their life together. Emma learned of Jack and Isabella's marriage through social media. She sat by the window of her small apartment, holding a glass of red wine, with complex emotions. For a moment, she remembered her own wedding with Jack, when they were full of hope and dreams. But that was in the past, and her betrayal had completely shattered those beautiful possibilities. Emma had to admit, seeing Jack find new happiness brought both a touch of bitterness and a sense of relief in her heart. At least he had moved on from that shadow, a fact she could never change. After working at Rachel's company for 3 years, Emma was finally promoted to project manager based on her efforts and talent. This position was far less glamorous than her former brand director role, but Emma had learned to cherish everything she now had. She no longer spent all day at high-end parties and social occasions, but focused more on work and self-improvement. At a business meeting, Emma met an entrepreneur named David. Unlike Nathan's flashiness and Jack's steadiness, David gave the impression of being down-to-earth and sincere. After spending some time together, Emma and David began dating. But Emma had become more cautious. She no longer easily invested in emotions, nor ignored truly important things for excitement and novelty. She told David about her past, including that failed marriage and betrayal. I've made serious mistakes, hurt people who loved me, Emma admitted. I don't want to repeat those mistakes, and I can't guarantee I won't make mistakes again. But I've paid the price and learned lessons from it. David appreciated Emma's honesty. He had also experienced failed relationships and understood that people make mistakes. The key is whether they can learn and grow from them. Meanwhile, Nathan's life continued to pass mundanely in the small town. His photo studio business barely made ends meet, enough to put food on the table, but far from satisfying his former ambitions and desires. Sometimes, he would look through his past works, remembering those glorious days, but more often, he was trapped in alcohol and self-pity, unable to extricate himself. After one drunken episode, Nathan decided to return to Buenos Aires, attempting to restart his career. He fantasized that people had forgotten past scandals and would give him a second chance. But reality was cruel. No gallery was willing to exhibit his works, no magazine willing to publish his photos. Even his former friends refused to see him. After being consecutively rejected several times, Nathan got drunk in a bar, then broke into the company where Emma now worked. He shouted and screamed, accusing Emma of ruining his life, demanding she take responsibility. Security had to be called to forcibly remove Nathan from the scene. This incident was recorded by bystanders, and the video quickly spread on social media. In the video, Nathan was vulgar in speech and out of control in behavior. There was no trace of that once elegant, confident photographer. This new scandal brought fresh damage to Nathan's reputation, affecting his photo studio business, which eventually had to close. Emma, on the other hand, won the respect of colleagues and superiors for maintaining calm and professionalism during the crisis. Rachel even proposed letting Emma take charge of an important client, recognizing her ability and growth. Jack and Isabella's life continued to shuttle between the two cities. They maintained their respective careers while nurturing an intimate relationship. Jack's architectural firm, influenced by Isabella's artistic inspiration, began experimenting with more innovation and breakthroughs, with works increasingly recognized internationally. Sometimes, Jack would see news about Emma in the media, learning about her work situation at Rachel's company and her relationship with David. He no longer felt anger or pain, just calmly accepted this information, then continued with his own life. That marriage and betrayal had become the past. Though leaving scars, they no longer affected his present and future. 5 years passed, and Jack and Isabella welcomed their first child. The arrival of this little life made their lives more fulfilling and beautiful. Jack became a gentle and responsible father, determined to provide his child with a family environment full of love and trust. Emma and David's relationship also developed steadily, but Emma chose not to rush into marriage. She knew she had lost one chance and didn't want to make decisions out of impulse or external pressure. At work, Emma had become an important pillar of Rachel's company, responsible for multiple important clients and projects. Nathan's life continued to struggle. He tried various ways to rebuild his career, but all ended in failure. Eventually, he had to accept an ordinary factory job, completely severing ties with the photography circle and art world. His talent and ambition were shattered by reality, leaving only the ordinariness and triviality of daily life. In a chance encounter, Emma saw Jack and Isabella in a cafe, along with their adorable child. At that moment, Emma felt complex emotions, regret, envy, but also a sense of closure. She didn't go up to greet them, just quietly observed for a while, then left. Emma knew that some mistakes once made cannot be undone. Some damages once caused can never be repaired. She had lost a husband who loved and respected her, lost a marriage built on trust and loyalty. And all this was because of her selfishness and short-sightedness. Meanwhile, Nathan, in his daily factory work, often recalled his past glory and current downfall. He realized his talent had been destroyed by his own selfishness and arrogance. He had exploited Emma's feelings and professional relationships and ultimately lost everything. Jack and Isabella's life was filled with love and happiness. They had their respective careers, a shared family, mutual respect, and trust. Jack had completely let go of past shadows, focusing on current life and future plans. Encouraged by Isabella, Jack began participating in some social welfare projects, designing affordable housing and community facilities for disadvantaged groups. These projects might not be as profitable as commercial ones, but they brought Jack greater satisfaction and a sense of achievement. Emma, in her spare time, began reflecting on her life choices. She understood that true happiness lies not in fleeting excitement and satisfaction, but in lasting companionship and understanding. She no longer pursued superficial glamour, but valued inner peace and contentment more. At a company annual meeting, Rachel publicly praised Emma's work achievements and personal growth. 5 years ago, when Emma joined our company, she was experiencing a low point in life. But she didn't give up, instead proving her value through effort and talent. Today's Emma is not only an important asset to our company, but also an admirable professional woman. These words reminded Emma of her past and present. Yes, she had lost a lot, but also learned to cherish and grow through loss. She might never be able to repair the damage done to Jack, but at least she could ensure not to make the same mistakes again. On an ordinary day in Buenos Aires, Jack was working in his office when he suddenly received a call from a stranger. It was Nathan, claiming to have something important to discuss. Jack initially wanted to hang up, but out of some curiosity, he agreed to meet. In a simple cafe, Jack met an almost unrecognizable Nathan. The once glamorous photographer was now haggard, with eyes full of fatigue and defeat. "Jack, I know you may never forgive me," Nathan opened straightforwardly. "But I want to tell you, I've paid the price for my actions. I lost everything: career, reputation, friends. I now work as an ordinary worker in a factory, repeating the same tasks every day, with no creativity or passion." Jack listened calmly, without interrupting. "I'm not here to ask for your forgiveness or sympathy," Nathan continued. "I just want you to know, the price of betrayal and exploiting others is much heavier than I imagined. I ruined my own life and hurt innocent people. These are consequences I must bear." Jack looked at this man he once hated, feeling no anger, only a faint pity. "Nathan, I don't need to know how you're doing, nor do I care if you regret it. Your actions hurt me, and they hurt Emma. But that's in the past now. I have my own life and family, no longer haunted by those memories." Nathan gave a bitter laugh. "I understand. I just needed to say it, perhaps for my own conscience, or perhaps just wanting an ending." Thank you for seeing me, Jack. After leaving the cafe, Jack didn't tell Isabella about this meeting. Not out of concealment, but feeling no need to bring past shadows into current life. He had truly let go of those painful memories, focusing on present happiness and future possibilities. And at the other end of the city, Emma was enjoying dinner with David. Their relationship was stable and comfortable, without passionate sparks, but with mutual understanding and respect. Emma had learned to value this authenticity and simplicity, no longer pursuing that excitement that might bring harm. I saw some news today, David said. That once famous photographer Nathan seems to be in trouble again. He got into a bar fight and was taken away by police. Emma frowned slightly, but quickly regained composure. That has nothing to do with me anymore. I hope he gets the help he needs. David nodded, not pursuing the topic. He knew Emma's past and respected her choice not to discuss it. Life continued moving forward. Jack achieved even greater success in his architectural career, while creating beautiful family memories with Isabella and their child. Emma steadily developed at Rachel's company. Though having lost her former glory, she found a more authentic and fulfilling work state. And Nathan, struggling in the consequences he created, unable to escape the shadows of the past. Sometimes, fate is so fair yet merciless. Every choice has a price. Every betrayal has consequences. Jack, because he chose to uphold principles and self-respect, eventually found new happiness. Emma, because she chose betrayal and selfishness, lost her original life, but also learned to grow through pain. Nathan, because he chose exploitation and deception, ultimately lost everything, including his cherished talent and career. 10 years later, on an afternoon, Jack and Isabella took their child for a walk in a park in Buenos Aires. Sunlight gently poured onto the grass, a breeze lightly rustling the leaves. This was an ordinary but beautiful family moment. Not far away, Emma and David were also in the park. They ultimately didn't marry, but maintained a stable partnership. Emma was now a partner in Rachel's company, responsible for important decisions and development direction. The gazes of the two couples met in the air. They nodded in acknowledgement to each other, then continued on their separate ways. No words, no intersection, just parallel lines of life running on different tracks. And in some corner of the city, Nathan sat alone in a shabby apartment, holding an old photograph, a work from the peak of his career. In the photo, the model was radiant, full of confidence and charm. But now, that radiance had completely disappeared from Nathan's life. This is the price of choices and betrayal, also life's fair judgment for everyone. No one can escape the consequences of their actions, nor easily erase the traces left by the past. Only by accepting reality and learning to grow can one find their own direction and meaning in the long river of life. If this story resonated with you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content. Looking forward to seeing you in our next story.